Hello and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be showing you how to create a project plan in Excel. Now if you find this video useful, then please do hit the like button down below. That lets me know that I should continue creating tutorials and how-tos just like this. So without further ado, let's get started. So you'll see here I've got Microsoft Excel open in front of me and we've got a blank slate. So you might be thinking, where do you even start? Now what I like to do is I like to add at the top some key information of the project. So what we're going to have here is the project title, the project manager. So we're going to put the name of the project manager. It's probably you if you're creating a project plan in Excel. We're going to have the start date of the project, and that could be the planned start date. And we're also going to put the end date. So you could do planned start dates and planned end dates if you're looking to track predictability, or you can use the actual start dates and the actual end dates for closer tracking and to see, how your project actually did it meet schedule. So what I like to do here is just create some boxes, and one thing to bear in mind with this tutorial is I'm going to be making this kind of basic just to show you what kind of information you need, but of course you can change the formatting to make this look really great and where you'll be more happy to share with your stakeholders. So I'm doing this quite fast because I don't want you to kind of get bored of what I'm doing, but what I want you to kind of see here is the key bits of information that I would include at the top that are going to be useful for anyone kind of reading the project plan. So I'm going to call the project testing project A. The project manager is going to be myself, and my name is Bob Dylan, why not? Start date, we're going to say today, and the date of recording is 26th of May. So we're going to go 2605, obviously that's UK based date there, and we're going to say the end date is the 30th of May. Now one thing that's really useful is you can track the project duration with a simple formula. So I'm going to use the format painter here just to get that like that. And I'm going to teach you a quick formula which is really useful for tracking this date. So it's called network days. So equals network, you can see that pop up there, network days, open bracket. So it's asking us for the start date. So the start date is in this cell and the end date is this cell, and we're not going to be including any holidays, so we'll just close that off. And I just need to change the format of the column to a number, and we don't want any decimal spaces. So what this is essentially doing is it's saying that the project is 3 days long, and this particular formula, and with the inclusion of the word network in that formula, what that's essentially saying is there's been 3 working days from the start date to the end date. So what this will actually do is it will subtract any weekend days as well. So you're actually getting a true number of working days. So the project was 3 working days. If you do work weekends, or you don't want to include, you do want to include, those weekend days, then you would just obviously take this off the network. And I believe in the days formula, you do the end date first and then you do the start date, and that will give you 4. So as you can see, the days have changed slightly, and that's because there are that's to do with the network days functionality. So on to the columns themselves. So these are the ones that I would recommend. Of course, different project plans are going to have different columns and you're going to capture different data points, but what I'm going to show you here is a recommended sample project plan, and one you should definitely start with at a minimum. So WBS number, so WBS standing for work breakdown structure, and this is just a reference point so that you can see how the projects kind of roll up and aligning with one another, and we'll populate that in a minute once we've started doing so. The next column I would recommend is task name. So that will be the specific task that makes up part of the project. we're going to have a status column, assigned to. So I'll just run through each of the columns and then I'll start adding data so you can see how it all works. So start date, and that will be for the task itself. So end date, duration, and comments. If I can spell comments correctly, that is a slip of the finger there. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add another status here, and we're going to include the different statuses that we can assign to each task. And we're going to use some data validation in a moment to add this as a drop down to the status column. So that's going to be, I'm going to use the format painter just to get that nice over here. Well, that looks quite good, but not what I'm looking for. So we've got that over here. So that's more of a key, if you like. So I could actually put that over here, key, just for reference. And then I'm actually going to, I like that as the heading. So we're going to do that as well. So it's looking a little bit better. Now, what are some key tasks and milestones and subtasks that you should include in your project plan? Well, let's start with the main ones. So we've got project conception and initiation. We have project definition and planning. Now, of course, these may change depending on your project management methodology. I don't know if if you're working with Prince2, for instance, but some of these will change, but you get the general idea of what's involved here. These are the kind of major milestones on a project. Project performance and monitoring. So, you know, these task names the wording may differ a little bit, but just kind of bear that in mind. And I'm just actually going to put, let's put project closure in the bottom here. You know, you can make the argument that monitoring is part of that, but we're going to put that as a separate task. So I'll actually put some extra formatting here just to make it a little bit more visible. So these are going to be the work breakdown structure, kind of main numbers and of tasks. Now, what you want to do is, obviously, each of these different stages of a project are going to have subtasks and deliverables. So, for instance, in the project conception and initiation phase of the project, you may want to have a research and a stakeholder mapping task, and these will obviously be conducted before the project begins. Now I've created two here. I'll create one more. We could have one on project charter. Let's add product charter here. So these are all different subtasks that relate back to the main category. Now what we can do here is, if we use the indenting functionality of Excel, which you can find in the alignment, so home alignment, and we want to increase the indent, what this does is it maps it back to the main task. So you can see here that they're kind of indented underneath, and that creates a parent-child relationship. So what we could do here then is 1.1, 1.2 and 1.3. And as you can imagine, we can bold this, and we can bold all of these. And as you can imagine, we need to do this for all of the different phases of the project. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to add a couple, but of course it will depend on the project, and it will depend on, you know, what you are looking to track in your project plan. But I'm going to add a few examples against each of the different phases. And again, we've got 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 4.1, 4.2 and 4.3. Now let's add some more. So project definition and planning. Well, we could have scope and, oh, we don't want this in bold. Let's take the bold off. So we want scope and goal setting. Sorry, I really like capitals at the start of every word. That annoys me if not. Budget. Communication plan. So these are just some examples. And let's not forget to do the indent. So project launch and execution, so status and tracking is one example. KPIs is another. And what we can do here is KPIs can be broken up into several different kind of subcategories. So we could even put here monitoring or forecasts. And again, we can indent those back to the KPI to create the relationship between those. So that would make that 3.2.1, 3.2.2. You get the idea. I'm going to format the painter just to make that. So I'm not sure why that's appearing on the left, but I can sort that out later. 3.3, this could be project updates. And again, this is of course now at the next level from the KPIs. So that you can see the indent there. So that's kind of a subtask of the KPI, which is a subtask of this phase. So you can see how it all kind of rolls up to one another. So let's just quickly go through the last one, just so you've got an idea of some of the tasks that make up that phase. So, and we'll do project performance. No, we won't do that. We'll do effort and cost tracking as an aspect of this phase of the project. And again, we need to indent. So the project plan is starting to take shape, and we're nearly there now. All we need to do is, one thing I'd recommend doing is setting up some data validation in this column. So this is why we created this key earlier, and since we've been doing that, and adding the tasks, things have jumped downwards and it doesn't look particularly neat. So we're just going to remove that off. I'm going to do format painter on this blank cell and drag that down to make that look nice. I'm going to save. Always remember to save. You don't want to lose your project plan or your work. Now, what we want to do here is I'm going to set up the data validation back to the key. So I'm going to select all of the cells. I'm going to go to the top here, click data, go across to data validation, click that, and under allow I'm going to click list, and the source of the data that I want to create the list option from is here. So I've just clicked on the top one with the left click and dragged down to the bottom, and it's referenced that source. Hit OK, and what this is going to do now is give us an option for each of the different tasks. So we could say that this is now we could say in progress. Let's say this one is, let's put them all down. By default they should all be not started. So if we drag that down all the way to the bottom, now what we can start doing is we can start, of course, let's say we've done the initiation phase. So let's say that's been completed. This is in progress. This is in progress, but these two subtasks have not started. So we haven't done the budget yet, and we haven't done the comms plan, but we've done the scope and goal setting. So as you can see, we're starting to work through it. Now assigned, now that's going to be the individual responsible for each of the different tasks. That could be a person, that could be a team. So just bear that in mind. And the start date and the end date will obviously be when these things happened. So let's say the start date, we know the start date at the start of the project is the 26th of May from the top here. I'm going to move things around here. 1 second. It might be useful to do this and this. Of course, the formatting doesn't look great, but the reason why I needed to move that is I want to make this column a date column. So what I want to do here is format the cells and select a date. So let's do the top one. Okay, so that's the start date. Oh, we should do that with the end date as well. So we've got the 26th of May. We completed that on the 27th of May. Let's say this was started on the 27th of May, and this was the 28th of May. You get the idea here. You just start filling the days out of when they were completed, and that will obviously happen as you go along in your project and you start tracking things. And for the duration, then again, you can do equals days. So end date, start date, or again, you could do network days. If you wanted to consider the working days, so network, I need to do that, and then it will be start date, end date, and drag that all the way down. So 29th of May. So you get the idea there. Now, obviously, for anything that's not started, it won't have a start date, it won't have an end date. Of course, the dates I've put in here aren't quite right, judging by what I put in here earlier. But those are the kind of things that you can do. I'm going to move this across now, just to make it more visually, make it look a little bit better visually. Okay, and the last thing you can do is add some comments. So you could say, so what you could do is you could put some comments in here like phase completed, on time, no risks raised. And that's essentially a basic project plan in Excel. Now, of course, you can change the formatting. There's lots of things you can do. You can start adding formulas, and you can also create a Gantt chart from this, which will be the content of another video. So if you do want to see that, hit the subscribe button and you'll get that, and hit the bell notification, and you'll be notified of when I do release it. But that's just one of the things you can do with a project plan in Excel. It's very, very useful. And I'll quickly show you a project plan I created earlier, just to give you an idea of some of the formatting you can do, and how it all works. And at the bottom there, that's a Gantt chart that's been created from that project plan up above. So I hope you found this video useful. As I say, if it was, hit the like button, do subscribe to my channel, and I hope you have an excellent day.